Okay, so welcome everybody to this episode of TNG with Ariel. So we'll begin by just having my friend Ariel just introduce yourself to whoever's watching.
Hi everyone. My name is Ariel Hart, and I am a yoga guide, a Reiki practitioner, an artist, and a fairy. And I love to work with the magical realms, the yin energy, and I really feel called to kind of the deeper, subtler layers of healing with the divine feminine, the yin energy. Thank you for having me, Owen.
Oh, beautiful. You're so welcome to be here. And this is the topic that we're going to talk about today is yin energy because Ariel is one of my friends who really, I feel embodies that feminine presence and very soft, very receptive, very grateful and gracious for life itself. So
Yes.
before
Cheers
we
to
get,
that.
yeah, cheers to that. I have a bit of a stuffy nose, some allergies, so I have a yogi tea, breathe deep, and this is a blend for clearing out the sinuses and stuff like that. So it has eucalyptus, licorice, ginger, basil, cardamom, cinnamon, mullein leaf, which I love, alfalfa, fennel, thyme, ellencamp, vanilla, cloves, black pepper, and vanilla beans. And I have local honey.
Oh, beautiful. So it's like the perfect balance of yin and yang, the clearing energy and the receptive healing. I
And
actually have a eucalyptus tree in my backyard, and I pin eucalyptus branches all around the house to help it stay clear.
oh, you're so lucky to have that. Have you looked at the little seed pods that they make?
Yeah, they're so beautiful.
They're like, for anyone who doesn't know about the eucalyptus tree, they have these little adorable cone shaped pods with a seed inside it. And it's just, until you see it, you can't really understand how beautiful this little seed pod is. It's so alien almost.
Yeah, it's very intricate. It's kind of got some sacred geometry in there. All the earth energy, which I feel like is what yin energy is all about, kind of the mother receptive energy, the place of transformation and transmutation.
So,
Yeah.
what would you say for everyone listening? Just what is yin energy? What is feminine energy? Because people have distorted views of masculine and feminine.
Right. And I feel like we're in a time of transitional awareness more into the yin energy. We've been in a yang period for a while now, kind of the driving manifesting force, which is obviously needed, but when it's out of balance, it can be very consumptive and greedy taking. So I feel like the yin energy is sometimes overwrought by the yang because it is kind of the gentler, subtler energies, and it requires stillness in order to access. It's kind of like sitting in the forest and just becoming aware of the present moment. And I receive a lot of guidance in the forest, and it's kind of tapping into that twilight realm where in between the space of waking and sleep is that healing place where we can access our magic and we can become receptive to our own inner wisdom by connecting with yin energy.
Yeah, and as a man, it's when I first started to get in tune with my yin, my feminine, it was really challenging to get into that space of not knowing the way you
Yeah.
described it and the way I know it to be the feminine energy. It's very mysterious. It's very mysterious. The energy of receiving is, what am I receiving and how am I receiving it? And you can never truly know. Even I think that the creator of the universe doesn't really know where she or he came from. It's kind of this mysterious, and I love the way you described it, that in between waking and sleeping state. It's a very restful, nurturing energy.
Yes.
And so
Yeah.
what ways that you can utilize that yin energy to bring healing for a man or a woman in their life?
So I use a variety of healing tools to access the yin energy. One of my favorites is through sound healing. I don't know if you can see my crystal bowls and my harp back there, but sound is a really beautiful way to receive in a way that feels safe. You know, you're receiving vibrations that are healing to you, and you may not understand exactly what it's doing or what it's clearing and recharging, but I feel like having that sensory sound is something that just resonates for all of us. It's something that feels calming, whether we know why it's happening or what is happening, we can receive that. And also just connecting with nature, you know, going on walks in a way that's mindful, not necessarily having a destination, but just going out with the intention to honor. I really like gifting little crystals or different earth tools back to the earth, or creating art in the earth, flower mandalas, just sitting with the wisdom of the earth. I feel like really drops into our own yin energy.
Mm. Yeah, that way you describe going into nature and taking a walk with no set plan or sort of quest. I just, from a masculine perspective, if I'm going somewhere, usually I'm like, okay, I'm going to the river to do this. I'm going to see this tree in this park, or I'm going to the beach to soak up some sunshine. But in that explorative yin energy, I feel that's been the more healing way of going into nature, is the times in which I've gone into a place and just allowed the mystery to kind of pull me in different directions, is where you have a more yin and more receptive experience of what's going on, because the masculine seeks to kind of identify and penetrate its environment and go, okay, I know this is this type of tree, I'm very much outwards. But the yin just kind of is more humble and says, I don't really know what's going on in nature, but I'm feeling and tuning into the emotion. And in that, also, there's music, in that the sounds of nature, even the subtle, you talked about the fairy realms, those subtle harmonies and melodies are now revealing themselves. There's actually this machine they have now called the music of the plants.
I saw
And
this. Oh,
you get this little machine and you clip these electrodes to the plants, and it translates their personal unique frequency, their vibe, into music.
oh,
And just,
so
oh my
beautiful.
goodness, they hooked it up to these ancient trees and dandelions and sunflowers, and you just feel this and hear this beautiful, beautiful music.
Yeah, and I imagine like hearing that gives you a better awareness of how you can access that music even without that device, like starting to get familiar with the fact that everything is energy and everything is vibrating in a certain way, and everything, because of that, is its own music.
So what is your personal emotional relationship with the moon, the symbol of divine feminine, as I know it, is the moon?
Yeah. I For the past few years, I've noticed myself called more and more to ritual, which I think is a really important part of the yin energy, the honoring and noticing the shifts and transformation of the moon cycle. And I really allow my intuition to guide the ritual. So I'll kind of drop in, particularly around the dark and the full moon, and see what energies are asking to be honored, and kind of creating a ritual around that, whether it's manifesting intentions or clearing something that's no longer in service to me, dropping into my deep innate knowing just by sitting with myself, and just allowing whatever crystals and other healing tools I have around to kind of transform into a ceremony.
Mm. And incorporating crystals from a Qigong and Chinese medicine perspective, the earth element is the most feminine element, water and earth. But specifically meaning yin energy is the receiving sort of end of the charge of the masculine gives to the feminine and the feminine receives. So crystals are that earth element. And in Qigong, we differentiate earth element from wood. So wood element is much more masculine, right? So wood, the trees are growing outwards, branching outwards, roots going downwards, very balanced in both. The roots are more feminine, but even the roots are still very masculine going downwards. So from a Western perspective, we kind of clump the earth element with the wood element. So people get a bit mixed up in what's masculine and what's feminine, because a giant oak tree is certainly a bit more masculine than the soil or the rocks or the crystals. So when you are looking to heal your feminine, whether you're a man or woman, being able to connect with the soil and the crystals, and as well as the moon is a giant stone. So the moon is a giant earth element. And there's this really beautiful yin qigong practice that I'll lead us through, if that's okay with you, for
Yes,
the
please.
portion.
Please. I would love that.
So this lunar feminine qigong practice from Mimi Kuo Deemer, who's a qigong teacher on YouTube, and it's called Holding the Moon. So you start, and preferably you can do this any time of day, but at nighttime when the moon is out is ideal. And so you begin by just holding your hands as if you're holding the moon. You hold your hands just around the level of your belly button, what's called the lower dantian energy point in Qigong. You just take deep breaths into the feminine energy. So the soft, lunar, receptive, grateful energy. You could do this either sitting or standing. You go ahead and you twist. You hold your hands up. And when the moon is out, you frame the moon with your hands.
Ooh.
You connect into the energy of the moon, breathing it in. This also activates your sides, and your sides are yin points, feminine points. You breathe that back in. You can imagine that your energy body is the moon going through its cycles. Each in-breath is the swelling of the moon, the waxing of the moon. Every exhale is the waning towards the new moon. Go inhale to the other side. Just breathing into that motherly, feminine, very sensual, mysterious energy. Breathing that down to your belly. You could do that practice for as long as you like, but for the purpose of today's talk, we'll just close that portal by holding both our hands over our lower dantian, or belly button. Breathing in and feeling the energy of the moon within us. Feeling our feminine energy, whether we're a woman or a man. Feeling our internal feminine, our receptivity, our softness, our watery earthiness. Just breathing that in and feeling a sort of closure to that portal of energy, closure to that beautiful energy that we've brought in, healing energy. Then coming back to our semi-waking state and allowing that restful yin energy to help us tune in with a deeper presence, deeper physical presence in life.
Thank you for sharing that practice, Owen. I will definitely incorporate that into my rituals.
It's such an emotional practice when you really do that particular qigong and connect with the spirit of the moon. One time I did that practice on a beautiful full moon, and I really tuned in and channeled the voice and the emotion of the moon. And through that, I learned that our moon sort of soaks up all of the earth's emotions, all the living beings' emotions, and then releases it every full moon. Sort of soaks it up and then releases it. And it was so made me cry up and tear up that night, and just felt so loved. And when you have an opportunity to give good emotion, give your tears of love or give your energy to the moon, it's such a beautiful practice, and she'll always reward you because she's soaking up whether people are this close to enlightenment or the most evil person on the world, the face of the world. She's soaking up all of that. So it's really a very motherly energy you can learn from, in that feeling it all, really feeling it all when you do this practice, rather than just, oh, I want to be up here all the time, I want to be happy all the time. Going into the deep lows as well with the moon cycles.
Yes. The darkness is also important to explore.
So what tea are you drinking, by the way?
I am drinking chrysanthemum tea.
Ooh.
I love the blooming teas, kind of unfurling. They come in like a little pod, and when you place them in hot water, it becomes bloom.
Some flower fairy energy for you there.
Yes. Thank you.
So when you go into a Reiki practice, when you are going into a yoga session and leading people into their bodies, what do you feel like is important for people at all levels, where they're just starting out or they've been doing this type of holistic therapy for a while? What are some of your personal tricks or guidance for people wanting to deepen into their body?
I really think breath it's something that I usually start my all of my practices with different types of breath awareness, depending on how I'm feeling the group energy or the person I'm working with privately. If I'm feeling kind of an imbalance in some place, I start with the breath too, and I feel like the breath is so key in opening up that receptive part of us. A lot of times the back energy is associated with the yin, and a lot of times I think, including myself, I am noticing the front energy because that's what we're doing stuff with. So bringing awareness to the back line of the body and drawing the breath into, like you said, the sides and the back. And also, I feel like a really easy way to drop into the yin is by decreasing or extending the exhale out a little bit longer than the inhale. And that, I feel like, is a wonderful trick for dropping into the healing space, activating the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the system of healing and more of the yin energy rather than the sympathetic nervous system. So for me, breath is a really great way to get people to that place pretty instantaneously.
That's really I can feel that already helping myself, and can feel that's gonna be so helpful for anyone really, because it's the key to everything, the breath in this physical life, whether somebody's a high level athlete or a high level meditator. Your breath really tunes you into that balance, because all day long we're breathing in. That's what keeps us alive. So all day long, the yin energy is literally keeping us alive with the breath.
Yeah. And sometimes our, breath when we're not intentional about it can be shallow. And I feel like sometimes with panic attacks or anytime we're feeling activated, the inhale feels more important. Like I need to get more breath, but what actually needs to happen is the releasing of that old stuck anxiety, tension. So the exhale is really what's going to be in best service to you, even though it might feel hard in the moment if you're experiencing anxiety.
That's such an important practice for people to learn. And in such a Western masculine society, we are so obsessed with this idea that everything can be proven, and everything that a male doctor, a male scientist has said is fact and true. But in reality, from my personal experience and your experience as well, through just something like the breath, you can literally let go of anxiety. You can let go of stress. You can let go of negative thought patterns through your intentional breathing. I have this really beautiful story about a Qigong session I was having, and I was going about it very yang, very masculine. And I was like, all about like powering up the physical strength, powering up the energy strength, like I was going into battle or something. And I was thinking to myself, why am I so a bit agitated? Usually when I practice Qigong, I'm so nice and peaceful and calm and I get these bliss waves through my body. But I was just kind of openly asking to my guides, to God, to the universe, why why is this one like, why do I feel more agitated than when I started? And the message I got was because your breath is violent. Your breath right now is aggressive and violent. So that's what you're breathing in. Breathe in gentleness. And then I did the same exact practice with a gentle breath, with a feminine breath. And immediately just had such a peaceful day, such a relaxing day after that.
Oh, wow. That's so good, Owen. It really is true. The breath is our opening portal to our intention, whether we're aware of it or not. It really determines the energy of the moment.
Mm. One thing that comes to mind when talking about the breath is we have something that I've personally been working on really deeply is tuning into the monkey mind. And I've had really beautiful visions, and my wife has had visions of this really strong, massive gorilla as like my personal monkey spirit. And in deep meditation, that gorilla has been really peaceful and zen, and definitely wasn't always like that. Like as a teenager and as a kid, that monkey was beating its chest and fighting and running around and completely sort of frantic energetically. What kind of calmed that inner monkey was realizing the power of not just giving love, but receiving love.
Yeah.
And this mantra of, I am loved, I am loved. Because the monkey mind part of the brain is all focused on physical and emotional love, tribal connection, physical intimacy, all of these things that are a necessity. And this is a really message that I so want to get out there with all of this distancing and all this sort of opposition to physical touch and closeness right now. This is a need. This is not just a convenience or a luxury to have physical touch, hugs, love, sex, kisses. This is a physical need for the human body, human loving touch. So when you could give yourself that yin, feminine, soft, loving hug, that mantra, I am loved, you can get yourself out of the monkey mind tends to go, am I loved? Does this person love me? And that's what people experience as social anxiety is, do they love me? Do they love me? Do I love them? And you can clear that cloud easily by just going, I am loved. I love you. I am loved. And through that feminine, receiving your own presence and that own feminine awareness that you're constantly loved, even by unseen forces, by the ancestors, by the deities, by the elemental beings, by the fairies. Wherever you go, you're in a sea of love. So that's just something that came to mind, and how people can utilize meditation and qigong to calm their own social anxiety and connect with their loved ones and with new people that might become a loved one in their life.
Perfect. Yes, I totally agree. And this society kind of places judgment on self love. It labels it as selfish or unneeded. But without that self love and gentleness towards the self, you are in this kind of seeking external to shift the internal. And the way that you will give love, if you're not operating from a place where you're already full and complete as love, it will be a taking energy. So you're connecting with other people will be more of a needy, imbalanced connection if you're not deeply in touch with how you are full and perfect just how you are.
There's a huge difference between what society fears is narcissism. There's a huge difference between narcissism and self-love.
Yes.
Narcissism is that you love yourself and nobody else. It's like, I love myself, nobody else is allowed in. Self-love is just receiving the love that's already around you and allowing yourself and feeling worthy enough to receive that. And then you're able to give more, rather than somebody who's narcissistic is coming from that needy place that you were talking about, which is ironically when people aren't taught how to love themselves.
Yes.
Or how to love themselves.
That's so ironic that the narcissist is actually not really full of self-love. It's all a kind of show, you know. It's a boundary of like, I act this way, but I'm not fully I'm not receiving because it's not safe to receive. It definitely stems from usually trauma that's created this wall of I cannot receive because it is not safe.
Yeah, and just there's a sort of dark side to the feminine that I'd like to bring up since we talk about narcissism. Is there's quite a few people in the world right now that are really, really harming the planet through a sort of toxic feminine, which is, I'm looking out for me. I need all of this wealth, this resources, this luxury, and I don't care about anyone else. So that's feminine, right? That's internal, that's receiving. But it spurs on all the masculine toxic behaviors of cutting down the rainforest and making giant oil drills, and all of this toxic masculine behavior is coming from a desire to fill a hole that can't be filled. Because ultimately, somebody who's full of desire, somebody who's full of lust and just wants to take, it will never be filled, but there will always be people who think they can, right? So there's loads of people that will flock to these never-ending abysses of sort of vampire energy where it's just, you can't give that person, they wouldn't be happy with the world. You could hand the keys to the whole world and the crown to the whole world and they wouldn't be happy still.
Yeah, it's just lost in a black hole.
And that's something as a man, I feel like is a responsibility for the masculine energy, is to be a guiding light, because light is considered a masculine yang force. Being a guiding light in the way in which you give. If somebody is noticeably unquenchable. They're always thirsting for something. Pull back and have dignity. No, and not just like, oh, honey, what can I give you? I'll give you $10,000 worth of diamond rings that you're gonna keep in the closet and never wear. And rather than that, make sure as a man that you're distributing your energy with dignity and with love, rather than, oh, I'm giving to expect something. No, just giving because I love to give, giving because I love to give to you, and giving wisdom as well, so that the feminine, whether the feminine is a woman or a man or trans, the feminine feels, okay, I'm already starting off on the right foot, already starting off with good energy being given to me. So from that space, they can decide morally whether they want to go up or down with that, but at least starting with that impetus of giving in the right way, or giving in a loving way, in an unconditional way.
Absolutely. I love that about the divine masculine is the discernment and the boundaries. If there isn't an even energy exchange, then you're stuck in one realm, yin or yang, and that's not the full picture, and it's not sustainable to stay in one realm.
And that can be stretched outwards to the whole globe. If we're looking at, we're in the age of Aquarius now, which is all about the collective. It's no longer about the hero and the savior and
Right.
please save me sort of energy. It's more like, okay, what are we collectively doing together? And right now we're realizing exactly what we're talking about. When people have massive amounts of resources, massive amounts of wisdom, massive amounts of natural energy, we have to distribute that unconditionally. We can't say, okay, I'll only give you first world technology if you meet standards A, B, and C. Oh, we'll only give you food, water, shelter, and clean environment if A, B, and C. It has to be a unconditional, and also at times unrequited. I think I said that right, right? Unrequited.
No, you didn't, but that's a perfect word.
Like, there's such a negative connotation about giving and not getting anything back, or giving love and then the person doesn't love back. But that's exactly what we need to do globally right now, collectively right now. We have to be okay with, okay, I give out this service to this person who's really in need of it, and they'll recompense somehow. And it doesn't have to be always financially.
Yes.
So coming back to an even exchange and sacred economics, as you're talking about, that even exchange where the balance comes back into play, where there's giving and receiving, and the skills and wisdom and resources flow in harmony, and people aren't going, oh, I'm keeping this all to myself, or oh, I'm giving this to only my friends and family. More intentional use of our money and resources, and saying, okay, this farm or this company is using ideals that I like and are benefiting the environment. So I'll give my money to them happily. And then it'll come back. Mother Earth will give it back to you in moments.
Yes. Yes. I love that idea of it's not necessarily a direct energy exchange where we've gotten very used to like money as the energy exchange, but this is a time for us to offer in a different way, offer in a way that taps into that mysterious realm where you trust that that energy will be returned to you. Maybe not in a way that you even can imagine, but it will be returned.
Mm. Karma is a mysterious feminine energy. What the topic of karma, specifically with feminine energy, because I don't want to talk too much about yang, since this is yin focused talk, is that what we choose to receive is also karma. So if somebody is constantly choosing to receive the same patterns or the same energy or the same knowledge outlet or the same words, they're going to experience this sort of experience over and over and over and over and over again.
Yep.
But when you choose to, okay, I'm going to receive something different, I'm going to think something different, which is thinking internally, feeling internally. I'm going to choose to feel something different. Starts to change the karmic cycles, because a lot of people tend to just go on the merry-go-round and they're asleep at the wheel and they're just going and say, oh, it's the same lesson over and over,
And
over and over.
they're angry about it. They're like, why is this happening to me? But once you experience that level upness where you're like choose to make a different choice, then you're on the path of enlightenment, right? Because you're experiencing new lessons and then it starts to click. Oh, like this is a thing, like this is a pattern, and if it keeps coming up, then perhaps I need to invite a different choice.
Mm. There's a really great lyrical song from John Lennon, Washing the Wheels. And that's going to be the song of the day for anyone watching this. Please go listen to that song. One of my favorite lyrics is he was a wisdom keeper, so he went to India and he experienced such a deep and rich philosophical life, spiritual life. And his lyrics in that song are something along the lines of, he's talking about somebody saying he's no longer on the ball. Like he's no longer the lead singer of the Beatles. He's no longer pop star John Lennon anymore. And then he replies within this song saying that I'm no longer on the merry-go-round. So he's like,
Nice.
he's not choosing the same pattern over and over again, because he was wise enough to say, look, all the other rock stars, all the other pop stars who did the same thing over and over again, they get worn out, they get drugged out, they get burnt out, and it never goes anywhere really profoundly productive to the way that he changed the world and he affected the world. And there's a sage-like feminine wisdom that comes from stepping out of the cyclical nature of the moon cycles and stepping into, okay, observation mode. What is that pattern and how can I transform it so I can bring a new energy, bring a fresh energy, bring a rebirth to my personal energy that I'm giving and receiving to the world.
Yes. Oh, I love that.
This is going really good. We're hitting some we're hitting some good wisdom today.
Yeah, it's so wonderful to flow with you, Owen.
So on that note, I'd like to give it up to you for the remainder of this session, this beautiful TNG space that has come into fruition. And just, I'd love for you to just share whatever comes intuitively to mind, to heart, to emotion for everyone watching.
Thank you. So, what's coming up for me is the stillness again, the honoring of the self by listening to that deeper wisdom. So I just really encourage everyone that's with us to take time during your day to drop into that inner knowing by connecting in ways that aren't part of your daily routine, whether that's taking a moment to take your shoes off and dig your toes into the soil, whether that's looking at the petals on a flower and really allowing that perfume to come inside of you. Just taking moments, especially during times like these, which can be really stressful and uncertain, and embracing the mystery, because there's some beauty and juicy good information within the uncertainty. It's not just this stressful unknowing, and really connecting in ways that feel different and uncertain to you, just by being present with the earth and the moment.
Thank you so much for joining everyone here today, Ariel. This is such an honor to host you on this show, and really feeling so much gratitude for you being present in the life that we all share together.
Thank you, Owen, for this offering. It feels in such alignment, and I keep getting, when I get universal truth downloads, and when I know that I'm on the right path, I get these really intense chills, and I've been getting them all through this session. So such deep gratitude to you. Thank you.
And on a more silly note, for anyone who hasn't noticed, in the beginning I was very sniffly, and after some after some local honey and some breathe deep lung blend tea or sinus clearing tea, the power of tea, I can breathe and smell once again.
Oh, plant medicine, I love it. Well, shall we seal this session?
Yes, let's just say that we're wishing you all deep, profound healing of your yin energy. Tune in, receive, allow yourself to receive, and we love you loads, whoever you are.
Yes, you are magic. You are the magic.